Hello, my name is Keith Haswell and I'm a professional astrologer with 40 years experience in the business and over 30,000 clients worldwide. I always say that just in case this is your first video that you've seen of mine. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this particular video on intimate and loving relationships. So just sit back and relax now and enjoy the journey with me. I've been so pleased with how you've related to the video that I've just released 2 weeks ago on magical relationships, part 1 and 2. Part 1, over 800 viewings in only 2 weeks. I'm very, very happy with that when you consider that I'm talking about abstract themes there that can't be related to by the majority of people. And to have about 47 of those people who viewed that particular video to tick the like box, to go to the trouble of ticking the like box, that is absolutely a staggering percentage of the number of people who viewed that who've gone to that trouble, and I thank you for that. So it's good to get that sort of feedback. Now I'm going to be talking with you here also about relationships, because that seems to be a theme and a subject that you're really very intimate with and very close to your heart. For so you can understand so much more now than what you would have been able to understand even 20 or 30 years ago. So you are ready now to take a gigantic step forward. Now what we're going to talk about on this particular video is intimacy and loving relationships. And first of all, I just want to say to you that there's 3 different groups of people, an equal amount, that fit into 3 different categories. So if you divide the population into these 3 different categories, then there becomes a problem for some of them, because they think that intimacy and loving relationships are excluding them, and that they're not entitled or deserving of intimate and loving relationships. And the reason why is because of education. Education teaches all over the place, teaches that life is all about romance and falling in love and getting married, having sex and children and so forth, and all of the teaching all fits into that line of thinking. Our parents teach us that this is the way that it is, that you grow up to a certain stage, you meet someone, you fall in love, you get married, you have sex, or you have sex in these days, and then you get married, and so on and so forth. So this is the way that we're taught, that this is the way that it is. And so therefore, when you talk about intimacy and loving relationships, so many feel excluded, because that type of situation of a one-on-one relationship for life, and having children and having sex and romance and leading to sex and so on and so forth, in that relationship is only for 30%, for 1/3 of the community. There's a second third of you who want relationships of a romantic and an intimate nature and a sexual nature, but you don't want to be with somebody for life. You say to yourself, oh no, I don't want to be with that person for life, because I'll grow in the time that we have this relationship, which is 3 or 4 years or whatever, and I'll grow and I'll become different, and I'll want something different in relationships then. And so no, I certainly don't want that. I want serial relationships, still intimate and sexual. And then there's the third group of people who don't want sex, but they do want loving relationships, and they do love intimacy and closeness and tenderness. But they exclude themselves because they think that I don't fit into this stereotype, and so therefore I'm not entitled to have intimate and loving relationships as it's understood by the community and defined by the community. And those who fit into this category too, this final third category that I'm talking about, are perhaps those who are over 50, have had a romantic or had sexual relationships, but now no longer are interested in sexual relationships. And so they also perhaps will exclude themselves from intimate and loving relationships. And then there's relationships with the same sex that can be intimate and loving relationships but don't fit into the stereotype of what intimate and loving relationships are. And so they once again exclude themselves from having those type of relationships because of misunderstanding in the community that is all there inherent in our educational system and our parental pass downs. So now that you understand that you fit in perhaps to one of these categories that are not in the third, that think that it's a lifetime relationship and a sexual romantic relationship for life with one person, 66% therefore of the community don't fit in with that line of thinking, and so it's easy to exclude yourself from having intimate and loving relationships. So now let's analyse what are intimate and loving relationships so that we can define it, and then you can understand more about what you are facing here in life and how you can express yourself in intimate and loving relationships regardless of which group that you fit into. Now, the obstacles that are inherent within our own very nature against living and loving and breathing intimate relationships are blockages that we have inside of ourselves, such as martyrhood, manipulations, blame, domination and control. Understand from the very beginning that your ego has a great investment in your martyrhood, in your manipulations, in your domination and your control, and the pain that you experience and remember from relationships that prevent you from forming another relationship. And it will resist mightily any idea of you forming an intimate and loving relationship. The ego says, oh no, let's not analyse intimacy and loving relationships. Let's not demystify it. Let's make it like John and Marcia slowly moving across the fields together. There they see each other, their eyes, and they clasp and grasp and hold each other and fall in love. This mythical image of what love should be, the soulmate, the one that will come into your life. Your ego says that if you understand intimacy and loving relationships, it might just be something that you want to do, and that it will not abide. Now, loving is defined as 7 things to do in order to produce 7 states of being. So 7 things to do, each to produce 7 states of being. And those 7 things to do are to give of yourself, to respect. These are 7 actions: to give, to respect, to respond, to know, to get to know that person, to have humility, to be able to say, just because it's been that way in the past in relationships doesn't mean that it has to be that way again. That is humility. To accept each event as a separate event in time and space. To express courage. Courage is the willingness to act, even though you don't have all the answers, and even though some of the answers that you do have are wrong. Courage is the willingness to be wrong in the pursuit of what's right. So as far as relationships are concerned, courage is the willingness to get in there and give it a go. And the last one of the 7 is caring. To care for that person, to care about the welfare of that person, to care about the outcome of events in relationship to that person. So they are the 7 actions that are the defining principles of love and what loving means. To give, respond, respect, to know, to have humility, to have courage, and to care. Now each one of these actions are then designed to produce 7 states of being. The first of these states of being are security. So to give, to produce security. To respond to somebody, to produce security. To respect, to produce security. And so forth with the other of the 7. The second state of being that you're desiring to produce is pleasure. To give, to produce pleasure. To respond, to produce pleasure. To respect, to produce pleasure. And so forth with the others. To give, to produce vulnerability. To respond, to produce vulnerability. To respect, to produce vulnerability. To give, to produce trust. To respond, to produce trust. To respect, to produce trust. And so forth with the others. To give, to produce a reduced fear of loss. To respect, to produce a reduced fear of loss. To respond, to produce a reduced fear of loss. To give, to produce intimacy and caring. To respond, to produce intimacy and caring. To respect, to produce intimacy and caring. And the final condition that you want to produce is a state of knowing. To give, to produce a state of knowing. To respond, to produce a state of knowing. To respect, to produce a state of knowing. And so forth with the others. So that's what love is, and that's how I define love. 7 actions, each to produce 7 states of being. Now the idea here is when you're doing these actions to produce these states of being, the idea is not to keep a ledger on it all and to say, well, I'm giving and I'm respecting and I'm responding. Now what am I getting back from you? That's not the way that it works. You know that if you are doing these 7 actions and are producing these 7 states of being, that you are getting back in return states of being within yourself. Now we're going to define intimacy for you. Intimacy means that you care more about that person's happiness than you care about your own. That's not martyrhood, it's caring. The thing that makes me happiest is to see your smile. The thing that makes me happiest is to see your joy. Now intimacy is doing the same 7 actions, but they produce 7 different states of being. So it's giving, first of all, to produce closeness. Responding to produce closeness. Respecting to produce closeness. Giving to produce tenderness. Responding to produce tenderness. Respecting to produce tenderness. The third state of being that's produced by these actions is honesty and vulnerability. So giving to produce honesty and vulnerability. Respecting to produce honesty and vulnerability. Responding to produce honesty and vulnerability. Giving to produce trust. Responding to produce trust. Respecting to produce trust. Giving to produce loving. Responding to produce loving. Respecting to produce loving. in that person. Sixthly is a reduced fear of humiliation. So giving to produce a reduced fear of humiliation. Responding to produce a reduced fear of humiliation. Respecting to produce a reduced fear of humiliation. And the seventh state of being that is connected with intimacy and defined as intimacy is understanding. So to respect to produce understanding, to give to produce understanding, to respond to produce understanding in that person. Now, intimate and loving relationships are the antidote to your martyrhood, your self-pity, your fear, your anxiety, your low self-esteem, your self-punishment, your self-abnegation, your shame, your guilt, domination, manipulation, control, and your fear. Loving and intimate relationships are a way for you to balance the imbalances within yourself, and a way to triumph through joy. What is most exciting about achieving intimacy and loving relationships is that it's what your spirituality is all about. Your spirituality defined is your living, loving, breathing relationship with God, Goddess, all that is. Now that relationship might be a very tenuous one, and in a lot of people they might say, well, I don't believe in God and Goddess at all. But that makes no difference whatsoever. Everybody has a spiritual relationship with God, Goddess, all that is. Everybody has a relationship with God, Goddess, all that is, and everybody therefore has a spirituality. God and Goddess have a relationship with all that is, everything that's in all of the mineral kingdom, the plant kingdom, the animal kingdom, and everyone in the human kingdom has a relationship with God and Goddess, because you wouldn't be here without God and Goddess. So everyone is spiritual. And everything is spiritual too. All the politicians are spiritual. All of the teachers and the healers are all spiritual. All of the business, commerce and industry are spiritual. All those on the line of art, music, literature and entertainment are spiritual. All those on one of the sciences are spiritual. All those on one of the religions and the abstract idealisms are spiritual, and the line of devotion are spiritual. And all those who are on the line of law, order and economics are spiritual. It's not enough to say, well, I'm a spiritual person. So is everybody. Your task is to make that relationship with God, Goddess, all that is, more vibrant and alive. To make spirituality your main priority and eventually your only priority. The goal spiritually is to have a loving relationship and an intimate relationship with God and Goddess. Some just want to say that, oh, I just want a relationship with God and Goddess. I don't want to worry about the people. But you've got to remember that we are all sparks of the whole. And the way that we grow spiritually is through relationship with each other. And to help and to give and to love and to care and to share. It's through relationship with everything else that you become who you are. How can you establish a living, loving, breathing relationship with the whole if you look down on all of the parts of the whole? So you say to yourself, well, I want one of these beautiful, loving, living and intimate relationships. No problem. Well, apparently there is a problem, because if you haven't noticed lately that there's not so many of those living, loving, intimate relationships in your life. Men, you've excluded yourself from all of the intimate and loving relationships that you can have with other men, because it doesn't fit in with what society thinks relationships should be. Women, you exclude yourself from all of these living, loving, intimate relationships that you can have with other women, because it doesn't fit in with the stereotype. And those of you who don't want a sexual relationship at all are the ones that have excluded yourselves more than anything from the intimate and loving relationships that you could form without the necessity of romance and sex. And the ones that you do have could be better. To establish intimate and loving relationships in your life, you first of all must admit to yourself that you are afraid. And then to work out, why do I fear intimacy and loving relationships? Now, I don't want to list all the fears there that hold you back from intimate and loving relationships, because we'll be here for hours. But it suffices to say that it's all through misunderstanding. Misunderstanding that intimacy means romance and sex. Intimacy and loving relationships can mean sex, but it's not exclusive to romance and sex. So whether you fit into the first third of the population that wants romance and sex for life with one particular person, now it's time for you to start developing those principles of love there within yourself, the giving and the responding and the respecting and so forth, in order to produce in your partner those 7 states of being, and to allow the intimacy into that relationship in a new and understanding way. It's time for those of you who fit into the second third of the population who want intimacy and loving relationships with sex, but serial relationships, relationships that last for a period of time, and then you move on to other relationships. It's time for you to be able to also understand that this is quite a natural urge within yourself, and quite okay within the confines of the new age that's coming into vogue. And most importantly, for those of you who don't want romance and don't want a sexual relationship, stop excluding yourself from intimate and loving relationships. You're the ones who believe that you need to be excluded more than any of us. So I think I've spoken for long enough here, and I've shared with you some of the beautiful things that I'm taught by my teachers from higher dimensions and higher levels. And it's so nice to have this opportunity to be able to spend some time with you and to see that you are responding. And I get so much feedback from everybody about the videos and how much that they mean to them and how much my CDs mean to them and so forth. So it's time for you, if you're not involved already with my intensives and so forth, to get stuck into it. I'm happy to do your horoscope for you free of charge, to help you to develop your giving and loving and caring and sharing and respecting and responding and so forth, so that you can start to develop intimate and loving relationships in your life. I'm prepared to do your horoscope for you free of charge, to help you to understand yourself and to understand that we're all unique and we're all different, and we find different ways of expressing our intimacy and our caring. So submit your birth details through my website, the Your Horoscope page of my website, www.mysteryofsirius.com, and I'll send you your horoscope chart together with 12 CDs out of my first book, What Really Matters on Astrology, Meditation and Reincarnation, to help you to become more of the map maker that you truly are. You are a leader. You are a pioneer. You have a lot of goodness, truth and beauty there inside of yourself that's trying to get out. You have a lot of power, strength and talent there inside of yourself that's trying to get out and express itself in full. And then you'll have 12 CDs out of my first book where I take you in and out of meditation time and time again. And then go on into my second lot of intensives, where out of my second book, Coming Home, An Eternal Journey, that goes into things in a lot more depth. And I'll send you the link to all of my over 100 videos that will help you to become more of the giant that you truly are. You are on the crest of the wave of evolution. It's time now for you to understand that the task at hand is consciousness expansion. The task at hand is to develop wisdom. And you'll never develop wisdom just through experience. And you'll never develop wisdom just through an intake of knowledge. It's through a combination of experience and an intake of knowledge, and out of it synergistically comes wisdom, a whole that is greater than the sum of the parts. So it's nice to have this opportunity to talk with you. And then there's horoscope number 2. That for only $10 you get a beautiful 20-page printout that's not just about your sun sign or your rising sign, but it's about you individually, where all of the other planets are in your horoscope. The moon rules your emotions, the sun rules your overall personality, Mercury rules your mind, Venus rules your love nature, Mars your energy levels, Jupiter your higher mind, Saturn your practicality and organisational ability, Uranus your intuition, and Neptune your spirituality, and Pluto your capacity to transform yourself. So all of these planets are somewhere in the 12 houses of your horoscope, and they form relationships with each other, which tells you so much about who you really are and how you've developed yourself in previous lifetimes. And for only $10 you get my interpretation of all of these different factors there in a beautiful 20-page printout. And that is only $10. So it's nice to have this opportunity to be able to talk with you. I could go on forever here about my love for God and Goddess. Let's all work together as a team so that we introduce into the world of human living and thinking more understanding, more compassion, more love, more caring, more intimacy, more responding and respecting. So I thank you, and I look forward to working further with you should you